Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're diving into a topic that sparks debate, curiosity, and sometimes controversy around the world. And that is why the United States military budget is the largest on the planet. When people hear about the US military budget, the first reaction is often shock. The numbers sound unreal, especially when compared to the spending of other nations. Yet behind those numbers lies a complex mix of history, strategy, politics, economics, and global responsibility. To understand why the US spends so much on its military, we need to start with history. The United States did not always have such a massive defense budget. In fact, for much of its early history, the country preferred a relatively small standing military. That approach changed dramatically in the 20th century. World War I showed the dangers of being unprepared, but World War Roman II completely transformed the U.S. role in global security. By the end of that war, the United States had emerged as a superpower with global reach. After World War Roman II, the Cold War began almost immediately. The rivalry with the Soviet Union pushed the U.S. to maintain a powerful military at all times. This was no longer about fighting one war, but about deterring a global adversary across land, sea, air, space, and eventually cyberspace. During the Cold War, military spending became a permanent feature of the U.S. economy. The fear of nuclear conflict, proxy wars, and ideological competition justified massive investments in weapons, bases, and personnel. Even after the Cold War ended, that structure never fully disappeared. Another key reason for the enormous budget is global presence. The United States maintains military bases in dozens of countries across every major region of the world. No other nation comes close to this level of global deployment. Maintaining overseas bases is extremely expensive. These bases require infrastructure, housing, logistics, security, and constant supply chains. They also require troops and their families to live abroad, which adds additional costs in pay, benefits, and support services. The U.S. military is also tasked with protecting global trade routes. Much of the world's economy depends on safe shipping lanes, and the U.S. Navy plays a major role in securing them. Aircraft carriers, submarines, and naval patrols are not cheap, but they are seen as essential to global stability. Another factor is technology. The United States prioritizes military technological superiority. This means investing heavily in research and development to stay ahead of potential rivals. Cutting-edge technology comes with an enormous price tag. From stealth aircraft to advanced missile defense systems, the U.S. aims to dominate every domain of warfare. Space and cyber capabilities have become especially important in recent years. These areas require constant innovation, skilled personnel, and advanced infrastructure. The U.S. also spends heavily on nuclear deterrence. Maintaining a nuclear triad of land-based missiles, submarines, and strategic bombers is one of the most expensive aspects of the defense budget. This system is designed to ensure that no enemy could ever eliminate U.S. nuclear capabilities in a first strike. Personnel costs are another major contributor. The United States has an all-volunteer military, which means it must offer competitive pay, benefits, health care, housing, and retirement plans. These benefits are essential for recruitment and retention, but they significantly increase overall spending. Veterans' care is also part of the long-term cost of military operations. Medical treatment, disability benefits, and support services for millions of veterans add billions of dollars to federal spending each year. These costs continue long after wars officially end. The size of the U.S. military itself is another factor. While some countries rely on smaller, more regionally focused forces, the U.S. maintains large active, duty, and reserve components. This scale allows rapid response to crises anywhere in the world, but it also drives up costs. Another reason for the massive budget is the role of the U.S. as a global security guarantor. Many allies depend on American military power for protection. NATO is a clear example where the U.S. provides a significant share of the alliance's military capabilities. This arrangement allows some allied countries to spend less on their own defense, knowing the U.S. will step in if needed. While this strengthens alliances, it also places a heavier financial burden on the United States. Domestic politics also play a major role. Defense spending has strong support in Congress, partly because military contracts create jobs across the country. Factories, shipyards, and research facilities employ millions of Americans either directly or indirectly. Defense companies have significant influence through lobbying and political contributions. This does not mean spending is unnecessary, but it does help explain why cutting the defense budget is politically difficult. Military spending is often framed as both a security issue and an economic one. Fear and uncertainty also drive spending. Global threats have not disappeared since the Cold War. Instead, they have multiplied and become more complex. Terrorism, cyber attacks, regional conflicts, and rising powers like China all shape U.S. defense planning. The attacks of September 11, 2001 dramatically increased military spending. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq cost trillions of dollars over 2 decades. Even though those wars have ended or scaled down, their financial impact continues to shape the budget today. Modern warfare is also more expensive than ever. Advanced weapons systems cost far more than older equipment. Training soldiers to use these systems requires time, technology, and resources, adding even more to the overall expense. Another often overlooked factor is bureaucracy. The U.S. Department of Defense is one of the largest organizations in the world. Managing such a massive institution comes with inefficiencies, administrative costs, and complex procurement processes. Cost overruns are a recurring issue in major defense projects. Delays, redesigns, and technical challenges can push costs far beyond original estimates. While reforms are often discussed, meaningful change has proven difficult. Inflation also affects military spending. As prices rise, maintaining the same level of readiness requires more money. Fuel, equipment, construction, and salaries all become more expensive over time. There is also the issue of preparedness. U.S. military strategy emphasizes being ready for multiple conflicts at once. This requires maintaining extra capacity, stockpiles, and forces that may never be used, but must always be available. Critics often argue that the U.S. spends more than necessary. They point out that the U.S. budget exceeds the combined military spending of several major powers. Supporters counter that global responsibilities and advanced capabilities justify the cost. Public opinion on military spending is deeply divided. Some see it as essential for national and global security. Others believe those funds could be better spent on healthcare, education, or infrastructure. This debate has been ongoing for decades. Another important point is that not all military spending goes directly to combat. A significant portion is allocated to training, disaster response, humanitarian missions, and peacekeeping operations. These roles often receive less attention, but still require funding. The U.S. military is frequently called upon during natural disasters, both domestically and internationally. From hurricane relief to earthquake response, these missions rely on military logistics and resources funded by the defense budget. Alliances and commitments also lock in spending levels. Treaties and defense agreements require the U.S. to maintain certain capabilities. Reducing the budget too drastically could weaken these commitments and alter global power dynamics. Emerging technologies are shaping future budgets. Artificial intelligence, autonomous weapons, and hypersonic missiles are becoming central to military planning. Developing and defending against these technologies requires sustained investment. Cybersecurity is another rapidly growing area. Protecting military networks, satellites, and critical infrastructure from cyber threats is now as important as traditional defense. This adds a new layer of cost that did not exist decades ago. Space has also become a military domain. Satellites are essential for communication, navigation, and intelligence. Protecting these assets and developing space-based capabilities has created entirely new budget demands. The size of the U.S. economy also matters. While the budget is enormous in absolute terms, it represents a smaller percentage of GDP than during some past conflicts. Supporters argue this makes the spending more sustainable than it appears at first glance. Still, the opportunity cost remains a key concern. Every dollar spent on defense is a dollar not spent elsewhere. This trade-off is at the heart of debates over the military budget. In many ways, the U.S. military budget reflects how the country sees its role in the world. It signals a commitment to leadership, deterrence, and global engagement. Whether that role should change is a question that continues to shape political discourse. As global power shifts and new challenges emerge, the size and structure of the U.S. military budget will remain a central issue. Rising competition, technological change, and domestic priorities will all influence future decisions. Understanding why the U.S. military budget is the largest in the world requires looking beyond the headline numbers. It is the result of history, strategy, alliances, economics, and a belief in maintaining unmatched military capability. Whether one views this spending as necessary or excessive, there is no denying its impact. It shapes global security, international relations, and the direction of American policy at home and abroad. And as long as the United States continues to see itself as a global leader and security guarantor, its military budget is likely to remain at the top of the list.